Ultra Kill is a fast-paced PvP arena shooter developed by Arsi Hakita Patala and published by New Blood Interactive in 2020. If you ask anyone who's played it, they'll tell you it's one of the best games they have ever played. It's refined, polished, and yet has unbelievably raw gameplay. Every second playing Ultra Kill has you on the edge of your seat. Ultra Kill is also entirely uncompromising in its philosophy. It doesn't bend to modern expectations for gamers, like having sprint, reloading, or aim down sights. Rather, Ultra Kill is a passion project that knows exactly what it is and what it isn't. And because of this, it's gained something of a cult following. It's an interesting case of game design. Ultra Kill may be like a fast-paced boomer shooter a la Doom, but its sandbox balancing much more closely resembles that of something like Halo. Each weapon, enemy, and secondary mechanic in the game is merely a piece in a blazingly fast game of chess. This is all well and good, but the main focus of Ultra Kill and what distinguishes it from its competition is the style meter. Styles range from destructive to Ultra Kill. You increase your style by using different weapons and mechanics to kill enemies while moving and avoiding damage. If you don't move, dodge, and switch weapons enough, your style will decrease over time, or decay. This has the sort of interesting effect of softly encouraging players to avoid stale and repetitive gameplay. Additionally, style increases the rate at which hard damage, or damage you can't heal, decays. It's your biggest concern in higher difficulties, so you really feel the impact of each rank. Maximizing your style in Ultra Kill makes the game feel almost completely different. You go from a fun, if somewhat derivative, boomer shooter to one of the most enjoyable games I've ever played, merely by paying attention to a barely influential mechanic. Outer Wilds is a different kind of game. Created by the amazing team at Mobius Digital in a partnership with Annapurna Interactive, Outer Wilds is the single best video game I have ever played. It's set primarily in space as a narrative puzzle game where your understanding of the story is what allows you to progress. Outer Wilds really takes this idea to its limit, too. If you've already beaten it, you could complete it from a fresh save in just a little over 20 minutes. There's nothing artificially holding you back. The only fault of the game, if you can even really call it one, is that it can only be played once. Once you've beaten Outer Wilds, there's not really any replay value. That said, the time you do get is worth every cent. I'd like to say more about the game, but there's little I can tell you without spoiling something or other. If you haven't, go play it. Both of these games are perfect examples of executing one core idea excellently. This brings us to Rumble, a little game with the same philosophy where you sling rocks at your friends. It's basically VR earthbending. Easy to understand, but ridiculously hard to master. The skill floor alone is enough to push most players away. Rumble is so hard, in fact, that most new players think it's the game's fault at one point or another when they're learning how to play. It isn't just difficult to be difficult, though. Rumble's unbelievably steep learning curve serves a greater purpose than that. It's there to give you a real sense of accomplishment when you finally succeed, and you do feel like an earthbender. The unique input system, combined with the incredible feedback when you succeed, makes every summon feel both real and earned. But that's not all Rumble brings to the table. You aren't just performing singular, rigid motions for long. Rather, the game's real fun comes from the deep physics engine.
Nice.
You can chain movements together in quick succession to perform combos. These aren't your normal fighting game combos. Really, Rumble doesn't tell you what they are. Rather, you discover them by using the physics engine and pose system to sort of feel out what's possible. An example of this is the straight uppercut combo. It's a combo composed of two movements, straight, which pushes a rock forward, and uppercut, which combines a little bit of forward and a little bit of upward momentum. These poses, when performed closely together, move a rock forward much faster than you can do with any single modifier. The only thing stopping you from performing one is this really strict timing. You can't let the rock get too far away, and because of Newton's laws, you can't let yourself get too far from the rock either. When you straight a rock, you get pushed back too. This style of combo, called a hit combo, has a couple interesting effects on the game. First of all, instead of performing rigid poses, you're now performing movements that add just a little more complexity to the game. Additionally, you can now control the speed, range, trajectory, and groundedness of a rock pretty tightly by composing the movements you already know in new and innovative ways. By changing the delay between poses, you can also get some fine-grained control over these values. All of this comes together to turn Rumble into a much more physical game than it was already, and that's no small feat. You no longer just move to perform inputs, but to control ever smaller changes in a rock's motion. Hit combos only make up the tip of the iceberg, though. Rumble has quite a few other tricks up its sleeve. Railguns, which abuse the way the rock collisions are calculated to double the speed of a rock when it hits two others at the same time. Dead stops, which are the results of a failed railgun in which one of the two rail rocks breaks and the other becomes invulnerable for a few frames. Bumps, where you use the momentum of one rock to push yourself instead of taking damage. Waterbending, where you use a rock to push or pull another one. And flight, where you fly with a rock. This is probably the ultimate form of emergent tech in the game. That list only contains a handful of the dozens of unique tools available to a skilled rumbler. All of these pieces of tech, and the many more, really give the game an almost infinite skill ceiling. There's so much to learn and do in the game that it's almost impossible to master everything. Now, that's what makes Rumble the video game so great, but there's 1,000 other games with well-implemented features and emergent gameplay. If that was all that Rumble had going for it, I wouldn't be making this video. No, what makes Rumble not just great, but special, is its community. The community may not be very large, but those who play Rumble are highly dedicated and generally involved in the broader Rumble community. Everyone is respectful, with really no tolerance for being rude either. The devs are very active, even being in some of the smaller discords, of which there are many. There are numerous tournaments for all regions and levels, as well as Discord servers dedicated to almost every aspect of the game. In my experience, it's the best organized and most welcoming community of any game on the market. I can also say it helps quite a lot that we have a lot of YouTubers and content creators helping to teach the newer players and market the game for free. That said, here's some gameplay to showcase not just what Rumble is, but how it feels.
Hey. Alright, I'm back. Well, all in all, Rumble is a game that completely exceeds expectations in every way. Conceptually, it's really only an inch wide, but it's a mile deep, and that's what counts. There's an unbelievable amount to learn about the game, and every second of it truly is as fun gets. It's one of those rare games that is completely perfect, all the way from idea to execution. However, the most important part really is the community. That's what makes it special. It's unlike any other, completely welcoming, excellent people, and frankly pretty large considering how many people play the game in total. And with that, I believe that's everything. Thank you for watching my nonsense again. I will see you around.